It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's January 30th, 2022. This morning, there was something on CBS this morning, which is Channel 2 in New York. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening to the same old story I've heard them try to portray with photos that cannot be vetted that they happened in North America, which is why it's so confusing when they open their mouths in this invasion that's really clear in some staged attack. It's no based on some of the YouTube videos that I don't like to watch because they're very violent and they're violent people. There's some talk that, I mean, if you look just geographically, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, whatever, those are like animal monsters entry point, technically, from Gulf of Mexico side, crossing from lower Central America. And if they got some kind of boat, I mean, I've heard that they try to cross and there's some form of border control or some form of police. I just don't know how to refer to those hard-working individuals and how to give them the amount of respect that they deserve from protecting the United States from the vagrants or the migrants or the whatever they're called. Because I'm looking from 2022. I like this Obama thing. This now, they're changing the way Supreme Court works. And I'm like, why am I the only one sticking up for my familial roots? I mean, the entire conversation seems to be taken by the people chaining themselves to the land and not being honest. I mean, not only are they not, I mean, in what other country do you have people without some form of government approval just fleeing one territory and like, nope, we're staying, and getting loud and obnoxious about it and talking over the indigenous people? I mean, there is a Mount Rushmore for a reason. There is founding fathers for a reason. It is what the United States of America and where headquarters is for the United States of America is based out of. What I am confused is why leadership, management, and the face has changed from what our monetary system and fiscal policy is built off of by an invading population that was a problem, but not a aggressive problem in certain areas, but has quietly gotten some kind of backing or I don't know what, and is growing really more passive aggressively and like choking off resources and opportunity and inserting themselves in positions that then further only their agenda. And if you're not with them, then they stand up against and they just make your life a living hell. I'm just not quite sure why the story, I mean, I see the stories being told by the insurgents and by the rebels that have pushed into the area. What I don't understand is why the whatever. I mean, like, do people only follow the rules when, like, there's border patrol next to them? I mean, like, is there any education whatsoever we could get on how to protect ourselves and how to, like, put the narrative back into like some kind of something that makes sense and that we're protected within. And listen to this.
He says, is the point of all of this to confront.
Okay, so they're chaining themselves, not only to themselves in some unity, but also to the ground and the land. Then they're telling the story. And the first part of this interview, the interviewer says to the gentleman, or to the man, or the, not even, I can't even say those. I don't even have a word at the moment for druidic purpose, but the guy, no, not even guy, I can't use the letter G. So the whatever, in whatever, they said that he already went to Harvard. So now this man is more educated by whatever generation of got onto land, made themselves comfortable, and then proceeded to fight for themselves and literally shut out other people or shut them down, and then created some kind of system and infiltrated the system. I don't understand how any of this is allowed at any gate. It doesn't make sense.
Confront our unpleasant history as a first step in healing. Of course, not everyone is delighted. You might have heard this term critical race theory.
I have.
At this
I
moment,
haven't.
people are saying, people like you are trying to make us feel ashamed of America.
Yes, you're right. Some people.
Right. But then here's the other thing. They don't clearly define America. I'm standing in North America. He's in Alabama, which is in North America. Was his family lineage like Central America or South America at some point? I'm just curious. Why can North America not gather enough strength to keep itself safe? Why is there all this investment in artwork? Because he's got an art museum telling the narrative to the story of American history all wrong. There's people in this documentary piece, which I'm not going to go back into because he already has. He has a Harvard law degree. Means absolutely nothing to me because he educated himself in some falsely created system with some affirmative action that only gave the advantage to the insurgents and the rebels. This Pierre de Resistance. Where does that exist? I'm just curious because I know the French language gets a little difficult to maintain when the story keeps changing and people get confused. There is one thing to teach one to treat one another with humanity and an open heart and an open mind, and to let someone speak and then someone else speak back. That's one thing. It's another. I've heard some animal cruelty stories and some human cruelty stories, which I'm not. I've already been treated that way by people that look like this gentleman in New York. So I'm not going there as far as giving legs to an argument that I'm not starting. There are facts. I'm an artifact. And there was rules, regulations, chain of command, and protocols that were set in safety position at some point. What I do not and continue to not understand is why the narrative keeps changing and why people keep signing up and standing behind. Are these like plea deals of guilty people that are, I mean, like now taking blood money in order to tell the story wrong purposely? It gets really confusing and it gets really hard to pass the truth forward other than my truth is I arrived in 1978 to a mother who was raised on welfare, 10 kids, barely could eat at the end of the month, didn't have anything. And then she with only a high school education wound up dragging me into this disgusting mess. And then I was given safety in Long Island for a little bit, but then at some point that dried up, and in high school I got thrown back into the pit. It's just a really disgusting existence. I don't know why anybody would ever allow this level of lifestyle directorship. I mean, where's counterbalance on this? I only see it being pulled so far off the narrative. I don't see any counterbalance or any counterweights being applied. Why is that? Why is there a court system that was created that gives the advantage to the rebels and to the enemy? I don't understand that. I mean, this is a really confusing. I mean, we weren't taught it in the North. So I don't know what they're secretly doing. But at 13 colonies, I being one in New York, it's really confusing when I hear stories like this and then they get all this airtime on broadcasting and television, but they're telling the story all wrong. Like as if they won some war that was never fought. Is this history in the making? Or is this something that's already been rigged and is now just being installed? And who's responsible for totally misdirecting this occurrence? Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It is Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. This is at the same time where X-ray light looks like living in an open X-ray. It's like damaging the skin, but it's also much more integral than that because it's affecting, it's just an outward sign. There's something affecting the biological safety mechanics of like an energy, like an geospatial, geo-origami, that helps keep the human in a format where it can be tasked to perform useful tasks.